We're going to fill in the grill area, create this bar, and then create the spot for the logo. We're going to tab into edit mode, and the first thing we want to do is just hide this real quick. So we're going to select this vertex, do Control L, and then H to hide this. So for this, we're actually going to want this vertex to be connected to this edge, because if we take a look at this edge, it actually is connected to this other vertex, and this vertex here is just floating in space, basically. It's not actually connected to this edge. So in order to fill in this area, we're going to have to make sure this vertex is actually on this edge. So for that, we're just going to do Control R, we're going to left click and drag this over. And you just want to kind of match it up pretty close to this. You can do one for front view if you want, or just go into whatever view you want. Use Q to slide this around until it matches up pretty close to where this vertex is. And then you're just going to select this vertex and then shift select this one that's already on the line. Do Alt M and choose at last. So now this is actually on the line and it's all part of the same edge loop. So we're going to Alt right click here. You'll see we still get these others right here. So if we just do B to box select, middle mouse deselect to get rid of those, that'll solve that problem. Then we're just going to do F to make a face. We're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and just bring this back. Then we're going to do S, Y, and then 0, and press enter to make it flat on the Y axis. Then we're going to do Shift H to hide everything else. And we want to just make some quads out of this. You can do it pretty much however you want, but the way I did it the first time was just take these two, press J to join, these two, J to join, and then you end up with a triangle, but that's alright. You have two quads and then a triangle. Then we're going to do Shift S and cursor to center. Just make sure you're in edit mode, so make sure you're in edit mode here. You can do Alt H to unhide everything, A to deselect. And we want to create a cube, so we're going to go to create and choose cube. Then we're just going to bring it out on the X axis until the center lines actually touch, then just release the X axis. I'm going to switch to face select, Z for wireframe. It's always going to make a face in the center when you do it that way, so just select the face that's in the center, do delete and choose faces. We could actually delete the outer faces too, so we're just going to select this now, do delete and choose faces. That'll help us with the shading later. So I'm going to select the face, do Control L to get all of it, then just do S to scale this down. You can do 1 for front view and just do G to move this up. S to scale it down some more. If you want to, you can do S then X and just scale it on the X axis by itself. So we're going to want to bring this back so that it's like about here. And you also want this to be, so this is like the center point for the headlight. This bar part is supposed to be slightly higher up than the center of this. So mine's in approximately the right position, so about here is fine. And then you just want to make sure that it's a little bit in. So you get this inner edge loop, you got this blue one, and then you get this one. So you want this to be a little bit in a bit further than that edge loop right there. So this is about where you want it. And you can adjust the Y if you want, the Y scaling if you want by doing S and Y if you want to do that. But I think this is probably fine for the moment. So we're going to switch to edge select and we're going to select the back edge. This one right here, and you're just going to bring it up slightly because it does come up a bit. So if you look at the picture you can see how it's a little bit higher up, and maybe it's just the angle, but I think from other pictures I think it is actually angled up slightly, so that's why we're just going to bring this up slightly so that it has a bit of an upward angle. And I think I'm actually going to scale mine on the Y axis, so I'm going to do Control L, S then Y, scale it in a little bit. Just make it a little bit thinner, and then just bring it forward slightly so it's back closer to this edge loop. Then lastly, just tab into object mode and go to tools, turn on smooth shading. If we want these edges here, like if we want these edges, I'll just select them real quick. All these edges around here to be beveled just like they are here. Since this is a low poly car model, the way you would probably want to do it is just to leave this version exactly how it is, and then make a beveled version, so just make bevels on these corners, and then bake it as a normal map onto this lower poly version. So instead of actually making a bevel, you would just use a normal map to make this look like it's beveled. So for now, just the way that it is fine, and if we want to have it beveled, we'll just make a normal map and do it that way instead. So the last part is this piece right here. It's a bit of an oval shape, it's not quite circular. And when I tried making this, it came out better when I used 10 vertices. So we're going to go to object mode this time, so make sure you're in object mode, go to create, and we're going to choose circle, and we're going to use 10 vertices. I tried 8 vertices, it didn't really look as good as I wanted it, so I'm going to stick with 10. So we're going to tab into edit mode now, RX then 90, press enter, S to scale this down, 1 for front view, move it up on the Z axis, scale it down again, and just scale it down a little bit more, just move it down some on the Z axis. So you want there to be a little space on the bottom and top, but not too much space. So if you look at it, you get a little space and a little space, you know, approximately what we have right here. Then you just want to scale it on the X axis to make it a bit wider so you get that oval shape. So you want to do S then X, and then there you go, you have the oval shape, a little bit similar to that. You can probably scale it in slightly so it's not quite so much of an oval. Then we're just going to press F to make a face. We're going to do I to inset this, do a little bit of an inset. Then we're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and we're going to bring it out a bit. Then we're going to do I to do an inset, just do a small inset again. Then do I to do another inset. This one's a pretty decent sized inset. And this one we're going to pull backwards on the Y axis, so actually towards the car. Just pull it back some because this piece is actually sitting in further. There's a better picture, I'll try to remember to put it in the description, where it'll show how far in this is actually sitting in comparison to the rest of it. This is about where it's sitting as far as I can tell. So we're going to alt right click here now, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this out. And this is approximately the distance, the thickness of it. And again, the other picture will show it better, so if you take a look at the other picture, you can get a better idea of how far back this goes. Then we're just going to do Control L and Control N to recalculate the normals. And we want to snap it to this point right here, so you get all these center points. We want to snap it to the back point. So if you do Z for wireframe, you want to snap it to this point right here. So we're just going to grab it, hold Control, snap it there. So it's now snapped to this back point, and everything should be lined up nicely. So we're going to alt right click on this outer one, then we're just going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, S to scale this out slightly, and then do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and just bring it back slightly on the Y axis. Then the only thing we need to do, actually we're going to do this real quick, is switch to vertex select. Select these two, J to join, these two, and these two, and just join them together. So we have all quads, and we're going to do alt right click, H to hide this, select the left side, so it should be selecting the left side, do Control L, then do delete and choose vertices, alt H to bring this back, and just A to deselect. We just did that because we're going to mirror this, so we don't need the left side. So we're going to do tab to go into object mode, hold shift and then right click on the car, do Control J, that'll join the two objects together, and it will put the mirror modifier that the car has onto this piece since they're now both one object. So we're going to go to Tools and Object Mode and turn on Smooth Shading, and we'll get this. If we want to make these edges beveled, all we have to do is go to Object Mode by pressing Tab, go to Edge Select, and we're just going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, continue doing Alt and Shift right click, until you get these. You don't need this bottom one because that's the end of it. So just starting here and then all the way down here, just excluding the bottom one. Then you can do Control E, do edge bevel weight, go until it says 1, and then you're all set. Just left click. But you'll see you get some shading issues sometimes when you do that. So what you're going to do instead is just select that edge. So you can actually just do Z, alt right click to select the edge that's the problem. Or you can even turn off this thing temporarily so that you can select the edge a little bit easier. But you're just going to alt right click on it either way. Do Control E edge bevel weight, and this time you're going to decrease it, so it should say a negative number on the bottom left, and it should look a little bit nicer. Once you decrease it, that dark shading will go away and you'll have a bit nicer of a result. It could happen like in this area too. If you do get some bad shading here, then you're just going to want to do the same thing. Just Alt right click, Control E, edge bevel weight, and just reduce it until the shading improves. But this looks alright for me. So that's going to be it for this. So you're just going to want to save it by going to File and Save. Thank you to our awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, head on over to patreon.com/StephenBrooks. Thank you for your support.